लोग सो गए, मैम को बताना पड़ेगा आपको।
Sir, let us start.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Let us start.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Tapasya ma'am,
Yes, sir.
you start with the meeting procedure.
Very good morning to all present in this webinar. I, Mrs. Tapasya Das, Faculty of Computer Science and Engineering Department at Synergy Institute of Technology, like to request Head of the Department, Mr. Vishwaranjan Sadangi, sir, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Tapasya ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Respected CMT sir, Mr. Vinod Das, Principal Madam Dr. Yogeshwari Raut, distinguished participants from reputed institutions, my dear colleagues and student friends. On behalf of Synergy Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar, I, Vishwaranjan Sadangi, HOD Computer Science and Engineering, really privileged to have the pleasant task of welcoming all of you for this national level webinar on machine learning using Python. Since computer science being the order of the day, it is very much necessary for the professionals like you to get acquainted with the latest development in the field of information technology. The webinar aims at bringing students, professionals together to participate in the celebration of knowledge and creative extravagance along with experts from the field of academic as well as industry. Today our topic is machine learning using Python. That means how a machine will be learned by using Python programming language. We know that machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence which is used in internet search engines, email filters to sort out spam, websites to make personalized recommendations,
3.16 version.
banking software to
latest
detect
table version
unusual
we downloaded
transactions,
table 1, but it is
outlier
3.16.
detections in datasets, and lots of apps on our phone like voice recognition, etc. And Python will be the language of the future. Python is a language which is on big growth path. It's a language of choice for most machine learning and data science professionals. So according to a World Economic Forum's report, AI-enabled automation will generate 133 million new jobs globally by 2022. And in India itself, the demand for AI talent pool is expected to skyrocket with the government step towards digitization. We are eagerly waiting to listen about machine learning using Python from our chief speaker, Mr. Rahul Garg. I am grateful to Mr. Rahul Garg, Chief Architect, TICT Academy, IIT Kanpur, and Director, Prutor.ai, who graciously and readily accepted our invitation as chief speaker for this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Rahul Garg. Thank you all. Thank you very much for listening my welcome remarks. Now I request Tapasya ma'am to introduce and invite Mr. Garg for presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. So I like to introduce speakers of today's webinar, Mr. Rahul Garg, sir. He is the Chief Architect of E&ICT Academy, IIT Kanpur, and presently IT consultant in IIT Kanpur. He is also the director of Prutor.ai. He has done his BE in 1989 to 1993 from Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. After that, he had done his PGDM Management Studies in 1995 to 1997 from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. He has 70 years experience in software delivery. He has specialities in digital strategy, content management, product, project and program management, account and relationship management, delivery and operation management, vendor, partner, people management in IT capital market. He is managing 100 plus CMS, content, business services, data integration teams to deliver software project on schedule with technical excellence. Being an avid reader, Mr. Garg has written 100 plus technical, motivational and children's book that are published in Amazon. Now I request to Mr. Rahul Garg, sir, to deliver his talk.
Thank you for those kind words, ma'am. I'll just begin my presentation. These are big words for me to actually fit into. I will just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Great.
visible.
Let me begin. Yeah, let me begin. So we सर ये सेशन हम इंग्लिश में करें हिंदी में करें बच्चे किसको ज्यादा समझ पाएंगे What would you prefer guys English or Hindi
English and Hindi, both can be,
both
but
mixed okay
mixed can be done, but English will be better.
okay so let me okay sir फिर मैं इंग्लिश में करता हूँ पूरा सेशन ठीक है सर okay चलिए so topic sir I'll just mute everybody except the host. Okay. So let us begin today's session. The session we want to cover today is machine learning with Python. So machine learning is the big hype. It keeps on talking about machine learning. Everybody keeps on talking about artificial intelligence, and it seems to impact a lot of work that we are doing right now. And it is probably the hottest technology that everybody talks about. So what we will cover today are really some of the topics. Machine learning is a very, very big topic. It takes many, many days to cover. But what we will cover today is basically an introduction to machine learning. We will look at what is supervised learning and what is unsupervised learning. We will define these two terms before we use them. And then we will look at some Python libraries for machine learning. And if time permits, we will take some of your questions and cover what doubts you have. So what is machine learning? So one way to define machine learning is to say it is the capability of the AI system to learn by extracting patterns from data. And this is called machine learning. So we know that machine learning is a subpart of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is really a big term, and artificial intelligence is whenever a machine exhibits any sort of intelligence behavior, it is called artificial intelligence. For example, if we ask a machine to set up an alarm for us in the morning, maybe we ask Alexa or Siri or Google tools to do this for us, and the phone automatically sets this alarm for us, then this is intelligent behavior. Why is it intelligent? Because it was able to figure out the English language and convert that into something actionable, something doable. Even understanding of human language is intelligent behavior, because until recently, machines couldn't do that. So whenever a machine exhibits any sort of artificial intelligence, any sort of intelligence, it is called artificial intelligence. This is the basic fundamental. So artificial intelligence is a very generic term, very broad term. Any sort of exhibition of behavior which is intelligent is artificial intelligence. Within that, we look for patterns. And in case we find patterns, then we use machine learning to get those patterns. So machine learning is a subset of AI. So just like there are these Russian dolls, where one doll is contained within the second, similarly, machine learning is actually contained within the artificial intelligence. And machine learning is actually an idea that you can learn from example and experience. The idea is that, when we were small, we heard of this story that if something went over, so maybe there was a rope, and this rope was used to draw water from a well. And whenever that rope would pass over stone, although the rope was very soft, because it went over the rock so many times, it cut a groove. So it cut a pattern into the rock itself, which was very hard. Same thing can happen here. With machine learning, given an experience, given examples, machine learning can figure out for itself what the pattern is without us writing the code. So we will look at this in slightly more detail. The idea is that it flips the whole IT industry upside down, and that is what is worrying people. IT industry contributes a very large sum to Indian GDP, and therefore it also employs thousands of coders and developers and programmers and project managers. So all of them are fairly worried on the direction the machine learning world will take, and why we will learn that in this seminar today. Okay. So we feed in the data to a generic algorithm, and that in turn builds data based on the data given. So how we will look at that. Now, in order to use machine learning, we have to use Python. Why? Python is a very popular platform that we use for research and development in production systems. It was created by Guido van Rossum. He was very unhappy with the current state of programs as they existed, and therefore he decided to use and create a new language itself, which he called Python. So Python name is a pun on a British comedy show, which was Monty's Python. And this Python does not come from the snake actually, but this is a fairly, what should we say, informal kind of word. So they adopted the symbol of Python only for the Python language. Python is a unique language because it is very easy to read, very, very easy to read. In C, for example, we have to learn hash, include, then bracket, open, standard IO.h, bracket close, nothing like that in Python. You start writing the code straight away. And then those brackets that we put in standard IO, what do you call them? Those are sort of, angular brackets, you call them, etc. So here you don't need any of that. Program code is very simple, very easy to use. This is the beauty of Python. Now, Python and machine learning are working in the world step by step. They grow together, and because of which, the more machine learning is gaining popularity, the more Python is becoming popular. There is one more competitor to Python in this world, which is called R. Sometimes people even compare MATLAB, but serious contender to Python for machine learning is only R. And Python is starting to beat R regularly now. Python has some libraries in it, and these libraries do most of the work. And these libraries are, for example, called NumPy. NumPy, number Python. So this has very high performance arrays that can do numerical calculation with lightning speed. If you have ever worked in Excel and you see how fast Excel is, you have a few hundred rows, maybe even a few thousand rows, you want to sum them, your answer comes in seconds. With the NumPy, it can come in milliseconds. It's that fast. Then you have a library called Pandas. Pandas is primarily used for data cleaning and also for a bit of visualization. It is very, very good. So their combination works very well. Pandas is actually built on top of NumPy. So their combination works very, very well. Then you have SciPy. SciPy actually and scikit-learn. SciPy is a scientific Python package. It does a lot of work for us in terms of data cleaning, in terms of visualization, etc. But all of these lead up to laying the groundwork for scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is the main library which does 90% of the job in machine learning. Okay, and in scikit-learn, what do? There is a method called fit, .fit. So .fit does an algorithm and it applies that to what? It applies that to data. So all the work that we do using these libraries, we create data and then we use scikit-learn, and in scikit-learn we do .fit. The more we do .fit, the algorithm gets applied and results start coming from machine learning. So actually speaking, machine learning is not that tough if you know Python and if you have grown through these layers. So first, if we were to ever teach somebody machine learning, we would first teach them NumPy for a few days, then teach them Pandas for a few days, then SciPy, then we will get them to scikit-learn. And scikit-learn is where they learn machine learning. Matplotlib helps us because humans are visual people, right? Suppose I tell you something like, imagine there's a tin and on that tin there is, rain falling. And when that rain is falling, the tin is making a noise. So in your mind, already a picture will start getting created. That is just how humans are. So we learn through language, we learn through visualization, and therefore it helps a lot if we can visualize something. So Matplotlib helps with visualization. It helps us draw graphs, as the name clearly shows. Plot means plotting, library, and lib for library. So it is used for primarily graph drawing, and it is again, all of these are free. So anything on machine learning, you don't have to spend a single rupee. Even if you have a slightly old computer, you can still go ahead and use it. And therefore, these are used to make scalable machine learning algorithms. Why scalable? Because machine learning will typically solve big problems for us. For small problems, you can do many types of coding, but for machine learning, you need big problems, and those are solved using scalable architecture. So a lot of machine learning algorithms also require the use of cloud because you need scale, and scale is most easy to find on cloud these days. So Python implements most popular machine learning techniques. So there are some techniques that are used for machine learning. So machine learning has these lot of words actually. This is one problem when you initially start working on machine learning world, AI world, the words. So each word is very specific in meaning, very particular in meaning. For example, when we say that we have classification, we mean something which is very, very precise. When we say regression, we see something very precise. What is classification? Classification means dividing. Suppose I have 3 classes. Suppose I have animals, and within animals, I have maybe birds, I have fishes and I have mammals, maybe birds, fishes, and maybe reptiles, something like that. Now, the machine learning learns the algorithm and it's given a lot of pictures and somehow it figures out that which picture belongs to which category. Then this is classification. Many times more useful is regression. Suppose I want to make a lot of money in the stock market. So I look at the stock market, feed this data into the computers and use machine learning algorithm and then say, what will the price be tomorrow? Will it be up or will it be down? I just want to predict this. And to do that, I want to predict this value. And whenever I want this value, then it becomes a case of regression. So you can easily imagine classification is different from regression. Recommendation is again based on my history. All of us have probably used Amazon in one form or other. And in Amazon, if you have ever bought a book, then Amazon knows that what your preferences are. And therefore, it makes a recommendation, says that if you have bought this book, book 1, then other people have bought book 2. And many times the idea is that you will probably buy these 2 books together. So that is done by a recommendation engine. So again, it is based on history. It is based on a lot of data, a lot of crunching happens. And that is how the recommendation engine comes along. And then is clustering. Clustering is very similar to classification, except in this case, the machine learning finds the clusters also. So we just give these images to it, and then actually it finds out, oh, these things have wings. And because these things have wings, they are put in one bucket. And these one have fins. And because they have fins, they are put in another bucket. And then these 3 things neither have fins, nor do they have wings, and they are put in third bucket. So automatically it has even drawn these and figured out what these things are. So we told him to divide this stuff into 3 clusters. It does automatically finds these clusters and then puts equipment in there, the items in there, the images in there automatically. That is the difference between clustering and classification. Otherwise, they are very similar. So I'll call this 1A and maybe I'll call this 1B in a way. This is 2 and this is 3. So most applications of machine learning you will find are related to these 3 areas only. That's all. So it's very simple to understand. And Python, why do we use Python? Python we use because it provides a ready-made framework. You install Python, just do an import, then do some jiggery-pokery. Ultimately, you have data which is cleaned up. You have data, you do data.fit, your job is done. That's all. That's all machine learning is. Sometimes in order to get here, we may have to do data mining. Why? For example, we want to do classification of the most popular book on Amazon. Then we have to get all the books. How do you get books? Maybe you scrape the site. Scraping, etc., getting books, etc., takes time. And therefore, that may require data mining tasks to be done. Otherwise, it is very straightforward to do machine learning using Python. So what is machine learning? Machine learning we define again. We will start getting this language better. So machine learning now we can say is when we have data science, we have machine learning and AI all together, combining together, and together they are called AI or ML. Many times we combine these 2 together and say AI plus ML. Okay. But these are the top trending in the world today. And there is something called Bayesian analysis. This is based on probability. Okay. So if you have learned probability well, it will serve you well because Bayes' theorem is a part of probability that we learn in 11th and 12th. And Bayes' theorem is applied in Bayesian analysis. Why is it required? Many times you get Gmail, right? In Gmail, a lot of people get spam. But you see how effective Gmail spamming is. It is very, very, very good now. It wasn't that a few years ago. We would get a lot of spam in our inbox. Now Gmail does a good job and puts them in the spam box where it belongs. How does it do that? Based on probability. Why? Because spammers keep on changing the message. Spammers know that Google will put them in spam. So they try to make the message such that it has to look like a legitimate message. So Google has to decide whenever a message comes, it has to decide whether to put it in inbox or whether to put it in spam. It can never be sure. And therefore it assigns a probability. It says the probability of it being spam is 30% And probability of it being legit is 70%. Which one is more? This one is more. So let us put this in inbox. Another message comes, probability is different, and let me put them in spam. So to do all that, we require Bayesian analysis. Okay. So this is how Bayesian analysis fits into machine learning. So machine learning now becomes a study of algorithms. What are algorithms? Algorithms are finite steps. Okay. These are finite steps. They have to be finite. Maybe 3 steps, 5 steps, but whatever it is, finite steps. And they are done in a sequence. 2 things are required. For example, an example of an algorithm will be a recipe. Suppose I want to make a cake which is very nice. Okay, it's very, very nice. It's an award-winning cake. Okay, but how do I make it? I don't have that skill. So I look up on the internet. I find out which particular cake won the award and then look for its recipe. If I find the recipe and I follow the same recipe using the same ingredients in the same sequence, I'm guaranteed to get the same cake as the award-winning cake, right? So it is very simple. If we follow these steps, we will get the same result. Same input means same output. So in order to do that, the steps that we carry out is algorithm. So recipe is nothing but an algorithm. So machine learning is study of such recipe to get the job done. In machine learning, what will happen? We'll put data. And what we want output is information, right? For example, we may put all the data about stock market in here and then tell me, so I look for 10 years data, every year data for all the stocks I put in here. Maybe it is 5 terabytes of data. I put that in. The information I want is only for one day, whether it will tomorrow go up or down. That is the only information I want. So this is how machine learning works. This is how algorithms work. Another way to say is machine learning is a discipline that deals with programming the systems so as to make them automatically learn and improve. So 2 things are important, learn and second is improve. But how? With experience. The more experience you have, the more you can learn and improve. How? So imagine that you have been given a task, you are a machine and you have been given a task to divide the images that are given to you into cats and dogs. Only 2 categories. Now the problem is when you are dividing them into cats and dogs, you don't know what are cats, what are dogs. It is humans who know what is cat and a dog. To a machine, it is just one file which contains ones and zeros and another file which contains ones and zeros. There is nothing like cat or a dog to a machine person. So how does a machine decide whether it is a cat or a dog? In order to do that, machine can't do this actually. So what do people do? They put some programmers in here. They put some people in here. These people come and they start putting images into categories. So they take the first image, put them in a bucket called cat. And then they take the second image, put that in a bucket called cat. Computer is watching now. I am watching. I'm a computer, I'm watching. I see, oh, this particular pattern is what humans say cat. Oh, this particular pattern is what they say cat. So imagine these are stencils and stencils are put on top of one another. So some of those stencil lines, ones and zeros, will become stronger because they will overlap and others will become weaker because they will not overlap. So if I do enough of these examples, then I can have a fair view of what cats look like and similarly what dogs look like. Now, when a new image comes along, which I haven't seen before, and I'm asked to put in here, I can start deciding, oh, this looks like a cat image because the overlap of lines is 70%. And then I compare it with dogs and, oh, it is only 30%. So therefore it belongs to cat category. So this is how machine learning actually works with experience. Similarly, there is a class of machine learning called RNN, okay? Recurrent neural network, okay? This particular has been given a simple task of playing Mario. There is a game called Mario, right? From Atari. So from Nintendo, sorry. This is a game called Mario. And Mario is supposed to rescue his princess from whatever the evil guy. And therefore he goes along various places. Now, if you have ever played Mario, you find it very, very difficult to complete. So what they have done is they have made the machine play Mario over and over and over again, millions of times, make all the mistakes it can. And therefore, with the experience, it can now play a perfect game. Get all the coins, rescue the princess, jump over everything, kill every enemy, perfect game, absolutely perfect game, because it has tried all the combinations of. That is how you can learn with experience. So machine learning will recognize the input data and take some informed decisions based on the supplied data. So what is the new thing now? The new thing now is data. So some people say that data is the new oil for tomorrow. It is the new fuel for tomorrow. Why do they say that? This is very applicable to companies like Reliance. Reliance until now was focused on oil. They were one of the top oil producers, right? But now their focus is shifting to the new fuel of the world, which is data. That is why geo plans are so cheap, because you are the product, you are the data. What images you see, what videos you watch, what data you search, all goes to geo, and based on that, they can influence your decisions. That will be the new fuel for tomorrow because of machine learning algorithms who can listen to all this behind the scene. So it is very difficult to consider all the decisions based on all possible inputs. To solve this problem, algorithms have been developed that build knowledge from specific data and past experience by applying principles of statistical science. Okay. For example, if we have students who are performing in a class, maybe there are 1,000 students in a class, and some of them are doing good, some of them are doing bad. Now, if we look at all the data there is of every single student, we may not even come to know whether the class has learned or not. Now, using a statistical science principle of average, I can get some input. For example, total marks were 100, and out of these 100, the average marks of this class were 30. Then I know this class has not been able to learn the teaching that we gave. So maybe actually the class is not at fault, maybe the teacher is at fault. Versus that, if the average is maybe 70, then instantly I can know the class has learned quite a lot. So this is how we can apply a principle of statistical learning to gain experience. But then with machine learning, there are other things involved like probability, logic, mathematical optimization, etc. But the idea is to be able to learn using a computer, using a machine. So we define again, we will get progressively better at our definitions. So we are saying machine learning is an automated learning with little or no human intervention. This is important. We may intervene first when we are training the machine, but once we have trained the machine, then we step out and the machine is deployed into production. And once into production, we are not allowed to influence it. It is supposed to work on its own, no human intervention. And therefore, it involves programming computers. You can't say you can't program. So programming will still be required. But the idea is that you will have to learn from your inputs. How is this different from traditional programming? Again, we will have a look. For now, just see that we will have to give input. The input to a machine will be the data. And based on data, it will learn. And once it has learned, it will do our job. That's it. So main purpose of machine learning is to explore and construct algorithms. So when people do PhD in machine learning, what do? They write algorithms. So how many algorithms are there in machine learning? The answer is infinite. And more are being generated all the time. Many times people combine algorithms to make new algorithms. Just like you can combine 2 recipes to create a new recipe, or maybe even 5 recipes to create a new recipe. That is what is happening even in the world of algorithms. Okay. So the idea is to make better and better prediction. The answer, whatever we get here, in terms of once we have learned, we produce a certain output. This output may differ from reality. For example, I may think that the market goes up, but actually market goes down. Next day I try, market goes up. Machine tells me market will go up, it again goes down. And then I may say it is complete failure. But then third day it says it will go up and it actually goes up. Then I know that it is true 1/3 of the time, etc. So the idea is that we need algorithms who can predict this better. So this algorithm is 1/3 better, 1/3. Maybe there is another algorithm which is 2/3 better. And therefore this algorithm is better than this one. And therefore research never stops. Research continues on AI/ML. And this is a very, very nascent field right now. It's continuing to develop. So what is the growth of machine learning? Why is it gaining so much popularity? So there was a big problem since 1960s. 1960s, the first programs for speech recognition were actually written. But until recently, they were not proper. You would ask a computer to speak to you, it would speak in a very computerized kind of voice. If you have watched Terminator movie, you know what that kind of a voice is. And even in movies, you can see that all the time, what it shows you, right? So you can easily make out whether the voice is natural or not. Now it has become impossible. With the recent development of machine learning, speech recognition is a machine learning task. Why? Because think about it. What is speech? Speech is actually when I speak something, I am producing a difference in air. That's all. It is actually a wave, an analog wave, which is actually influencing the air. And in air, that signal is traveling. And then a microphone catches it. Microphone converts it into an analog signal, which is then finally converted into a digital signal. But the digital signal is again 0 or 1. How can computer understand what 1 or 0 is? Again, it looks at that pattern. It sees that when humans say A, this is how they say A. This is probability of saying A is very high. Then this is how the probability of being B is very high, etc. And given enough training, it becomes good, and then it can do a speech recognition. In fact, some of the jobs are being replaced now. The translator jobs now for across language learning are being replaced by computers now. One place where a lot of people come and speak different languages in the world is the United Nations Organization, UNO. In UNO, until recently, it was the humans who were doing all the translations because they were getting it about 85% correct. With machine learning, it is about 95% correct now. So machines are beating humans now in this particular game now, and therefore machine learning is preferred approach now. Computer vision is again another area, and this is again gaining a lot of ground now. With computer vision, it can recognize objects. So it can recognize whether you have, it can recognize your hand, for example. Now, if you have played with Xbox, and with Xbox you have this Kinect, and with Kinect, it can recognize your hand gestures. You move your body, and through your body, you control characters in the game. So Kinect does that. And how does it do that? Because it has computer vision. It has a camera, and on that camera, they have already trained that console to recognize humans' hand, legs, eyes, etc. And therefore, if you make movement, it is able to do that and use computer vision to control the computer. Many times, the medical outcome analysis is being done by machine learning. So still, most people don't rely on computer to tell them which medicine to take, but they are assisting the doctors now. Many times, doctors don't get updated with the latest information. They don't read too many books or too many new material which is coming out. And a computer can always keep on learning new things. And therefore, a computer gets updated with the latest information. And therefore, medical science in a way is sort of a tree. You can imagine a tree. And on that tree, you can imagine what is happening is that you ask a question, do you have cough? He says yes or no. And if it is a cough, it is yes. Is it a persistent cough? Does it come at night? And does it call wheezing? Everywhere it is a yes or no. And finally, you will come to know what the most likely problem is. Sometimes you may give a test that, go ahead and get this test and does blood come, etc. So based on that test, ultimately, you come to know that the problem is X and therefore the solution is Y. So this whole thing computer can also do. Maybe computer can enter into a chat with you, ask you these questions in chat, you start answering them, and then computer tells you, oh, take this medicine. But right now, it is not open to general public. Typically, medical outcome analysis is open to doctors, and doctors can actually consult the computer and see if their diagnosis is correct, but this is what the computer is telling them to do. Many times you can do robot control now. For example, humans sent a rover to Mars, okay? We sent a rover to Mars. Rover to Mars, Mars is about 8 minutes away in terms of light, okay? Even light takes 8 minutes to come from Mars to Earth, okay? Whatever, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that, okay? So the idea is that we can't remote control it. Whenever we send a rover and that encounters a rock, it has to take a decision in real time, whether to take a left turn or a right turn. If we were to control it from Earth, then it would take several minutes to reach the robot, and by the time the robot will crash. To prevent that, we have autonomous robot, and to do that, machine learning is the way to go. So we have trained the robot in such a manner, it can take a left turn or a right turn, etc. And then there are other popular applications you may have seen already. There's this person called Sylvia, etc., who come on TV sometimes, and they are robots which look like humans only. Then many times computational biology is the way to go. For example, gene sequencing, genome sequencing, etc. Lot of places in biology where it can be useful, machine learning can be useful, okay, to find patterns. The idea is always to find patterns, and these patterns are what are recognized, and that is what machine learning is good at. Only one thing, pattern finding. And this trend is now accelerating. So machine learning algorithms are getting better because a lot of research is going on. A lot of people are combining algorithms. So you can imagine if there are 10 recipes originally for making cakes and people experiment a lot and they combine things with each other, etc. Very soon you may have 100 recipes and then you have 1,000 recipes. Then your chances of liking a particular cake are so much more because there are 1,000 choices now. Same thing is happening in machine learning now. Our ability to capture data is also increasing. Networks are getting faster and computers are also getting faster all the time. All that is helping the machine learning work. And software has become now too complex to write by hand. Okay. Computers already run on CPU, and CPU means there are a lot of transistors in there. Okay. CPUs consist of transistors, maybe 1 million transistors. And these million of transistors need to be combined in a certain way. Until recently, this was done by humans, but now it has become so complex that even CPUs are being designed by computers itself. So in a way, computers are designing computers, in a way. And similarly, computers are also writing the software because software has become too complex. Imagine writing a software for speech recognition. So that may be fairly complex. You have to understand the waveforms, etc., etc. Not very easy. So some software is too complex to write. And there are new sensors which are coming all the time. IO devices are coming all the time. They can feed in more data. We can improve the machine so much more all the time. And people have started to become more and more reliant on more and more self-service kind of a structure where they are expecting more and more now. So people, when they go to a restaurant, for example, they want food according to their taste many times. And they have started to demand more and more, especially if you go to Amazon, for example. Think of Amazon. Amazon is a website whose experience is different for every single user. The moment you log in, Amazon will change the website to serve you, only you. Every single component is there is now customized just for you. Why? Because of your history. Recommendations are different. The books you search are different. Their sequence are different. Recommendations are different. Everything is different now. Every single user who logs into Amazon gets a different website. And all that is possible through machine learning. So earlier, it was difficult to extract knowledge from human experts, and therefore expert systems failed. But now there's a big resurgence, especially because of neural networks. So things like self-driving cars are possible because of neural networks. So there are a lot of applications of machine learning. I'm sure you're familiar with most of them. Things like Google search, for example. So every time you search, you are actually feeding data to Google, and Google says which particular link you click. So it tells you here are 10 links. You click on link number 2. It knows now that through this search term, link number 2 is better. So next time it will show link number 2 right on top. So this search engine will become better every time because you are generating data for it to learn better. And therefore the search engine will keep on increasing, becoming better all the time. This is one reason why Microsoft is finding it very difficult to catch up with Google. Microsoft has already billions of dollars with it, but its engine called Bing has only 5% market share. Google has probably 95% market share. Why? Because Microsoft is finding very difficult to catch up with Google now because Google is getting better all the time anyways. So Bing will have to be twice as better. It is not possible currently. There are other applications you can easily think of. There is finance, there is space exploration, etc. I've talked about most of them already. So the benefits of machine learning are very fast, very powerful processing. You can make better decisions. They can help you make decisions. So doctors may already have opinion. Then they use machine and they come to know whether the decision is right or wrong. It can be very quick. Suppose we have in a hospital maybe 1,000 patients who have reported for COVID. Now doctors are only 10. It may take them a lot of time to figure out which persons have COVID or not. We choose X-ray, and the people have carrying X-ray. So these X-ray can be fed into a machine, and this machine can quickly decide that this is the probability of 90% people having COVID. With 90% probability, we can say this has COVID, and maybe 10% probability, something like that. And therefore, it can separate these people out maybe very quickly. Maybe it can do for 700 people. So if it can do that very quickly, then only 300 people are what doctors have to deal with. Others are already dealt with. Machine learning can get accurate and become better all the time. Okay. Then this is affordable. Machine learning, especially in the cloud, you don't have to buy much. You can run an algorithm or training, you can run for 10 hours and then stop. And that is enough, maybe. So you don't have to buy anything or set up the entire environment. Therefore, it is inexpensive. So a few years ago, there was a computer called Deep Blue. Deep Blue actually beat our chess champion of the world, Kasparov, who was from Russia, in chess. Okay. The computer was used to train, was from IBM, and it took them a lot of time to teach them rules of chess and this, that, whatever, several years to train it. On your regular PC now, you can train similar algorithm in 24 hours. Okay. Using a simple GPU, you can train it in 24 hours on home hardware only. So the machine learning has become quite inexpensive. And when the data is complex and big, you can still analyze it using machine learning. Then machine learning projects involve these steps. So what are these steps involved? Typically, you have to define a problem very clearly. Once you define the problem, you need to get data, because data is the new fuel. Data is what machine learning works on. It doesn't need anything else. It needs data. How? We will have a look in a minute. Then you need some algorithms, and you have to choose. Because there are so many algorithms to do every job, you have to make a choice. Say that we will use this algorithm or that algorithm. And once you know the algorithms, then you can work on improving the results. And you can choose various algorithms and get different results. Maybe change some parameters, get different results. And this changing of parameters is again a technical term, and that is called hyperparameter tuning. Okay. So everything in machine learning carries a special meaning, special word. Terminology is slightly difficult for machine learning. That is why this area is slightly hard to break into. Just like doctors. You call doctors, something like, jaw. They will not say jaw. They will say mandible. Mandible is the jaw. So everything is a technical word. And similarly, in machine learning, everything is a technical word. So hyperparameter tuning is what will help in improving the results. And then finally, you need to present the results so that humans can actually consume it. Okay. So these are the 5 steps involved. So this is what is making everybody run scared, because in traditional programming, companies like TCS will go to a company and say, you have a lot of data. Maybe you have data for payroll. And this payroll data needs to be processed. So payroll data is where people are. Okay. People's salary has to be given. So these people's salary has to be given. So that calculation has to be done. So they say, okay, give us this data about people, what their salary is. We will write a program. This program will do the computation, and we will give you a printout. And this printout you can give out to salary, or you can transfer money directly, okay, to bank. This is how the traditional programming was done. But with machine learning, things go upside down. The results are actually the input. And data is anyways there. And the result is the actual program. So things are upside down now, okay? The output is the program, not the input. And how did this happen? So imagine, for example, somebody tells you to write a program to identify chairs. Okay. This is the problem which is given to you, identify chairs. So how will we explain what a chair looks like to a computer? You can please put that in chat. How would you tell the computer what a chair is? We are doing traditional programming, maybe C, maybe C++, maybe Java. Can you please put up in chat, how can we identify a chair? अगर हमें पता करना हो कि ये चेयर है, तो हम उसके लिए क्या रूल बनाएंगे, कंप्यूटर को क्या समझाएंगे? आप चैट में डाल सकते हैं. Okay. आंसर्स आ रहे हैं हमारे पास. किसी ने कहा कि 4 legs, पर 4 legs तो स्टूल की भी हो सकती है. 4 legs and handrest. This is what a sofa is also. Typically, it has 4 legs and a handrest. It has a base to sit on. Again, stool has a base to sit on. And then there are rocking chairs. Rocking chairs don't have any legs. Okay, you can go back and forth in them. Okay, 4 legs with backrest, no. Rocking chairs don't have them. 4 legs with backing, no. Again, color and number of legs is equal to 4, no. There are possible to have revolving chairs. So in office, for example, you will have only 1 leg in a way, and there will be a base at the bottom that will have wheels. So it has no legs at all. Okay, it is still a chair. We don't call it anything else. It's a chair. Okay, size specified, no. Size you can't specify, no. Size can be different. So good attempt though. Image and motion can be used. I'm saying traditional programming. How do you put image and motion in C program? So I'm saying in traditional programming, just trying to define chairs, you need to have a if then else. You have to say if 4 hands, if 4 legs, if this one, if that one, else. So if then else letter will run into thousands of combinations. And even then you will find it difficult because you will still run into chairs which are different. For example, there may be a chair which is maybe like a bench. So it is like a bench, but much like a chair. So it doesn't really have legs, etc., made of stone. Okay. So the dividing line is very, very thin. Humans we can easily distinguish, but computers find it very difficult. Defining precise rules becomes very difficult. This is where traditional programming gives way to machine learning. So we give a lot of images to the computer. The result is the images. Maybe this is what result looks like. These are chairs. So we give the computer these chairs and give it a lot of these images and tell them what these chairs are. Result we already give. And then computer writes the program itself and says this particular program, if you use in future, will divide the answers into chairs and not chairs. This is how the traditional programming versus machine learning approach is different. And this is what makes the companies run scared. Because companies like TCS have made money like this in the past using the creation of programs, charging money for creation of programs. But if computers start writing programs, then what will TCS do? Okay. So this is what is making them run scared on what to do. So they are having to retrain a lot of their people, a lot of their staff into all these activities. Okay. So I'm not sure how much time we have. I have many slides to cover, but depending on the time I have, I will cover them. So I'll just unmute you. Tapaswi ma'am, how much time do we have?
Yes, sir. You can continue up to 15 minutes, sir.
15 minutes, sure. I'll continue. Great. Thank you, ma'am. So then we have traditional programming, which has always relied on hard-coded rules. So we have, whenever we start writing program, we look at problem at hand. Maybe it is to have a chair, define a chair, and then code the rules. So we will say if 4 legs, then it is more likely a chair, and maybe it has a back, and etc. Else, maybe it's a rocking chair, it has base, etc. But you will find that even with this one, you can run into chairs which are not classified. But this is how traditional programming would work. You will evaluate it. If it would pass, you would put the code into production. If it would fail, then you would review code and do this again. So traditional programming always worked like this, but machine learning uses a different approach. So machine learning relies on learning patterns. How? So first of all, we take the problem at hand, then we train the machine learning algorithms. And once we train the machine learning algorithms, we need something to do the training on. That is where training data comes in. So you use training data, train the machine learning algorithm, it generates a program, and this program you deploy into production if it passes. If it fails, then you review the error and train it again. So you just focus on training. Ultimately, after a lot of training, this will go into production. So imagine a search engine, for example. In this search engine, you do some sort of search. You maybe look for, maybe some toys, but it returns strange things to you. So you go to third page and then click, the toys you want. Now the search engine knows that toys were actually on third page. So now when next guy searches for toys, it puts those toys on first page because it knows that you have not found the result that was there. It failed. You reviewed the error and you actually trained the machine learning algorithm. And therefore, the algorithm will pass if it puts toys at number 1 location, the link you clicked at number 1 position. This is how machine learning relies on learning patterns. So, can we say that this is magic? Yes, in a way it is, but it is actually more like gardening. In gardening, we plant some seeds, we supply some nutrients. Once we apply the nutrients, we need a gardener. So base material is set, gardener comes in and he gets the plants. Okay. So the idea is seeds with nutrients and the help of gardener turn into plants. Similar thing is happening here. Seeds are equivalent to algorithms. Algorithms need some data. Seeds need some data. Seeds need nutrients. Similarly, data is the input to algorithms. You help tweak it, and once you help tweak it, algorithms will produce the programs you want. Very, very similar. So machine learning is, in a way, automating the automation itself. So whatever was automatic, you can actually have automation done now. It is to getting computers to program themselves. Writing program software was a bottleneck, so we let the data do the work for us. So there are some techniques of machine learning. We have talked about classification, clustering, and categorization is very similar. Again, you divide this data into categories. That's the idea. Trend analysis is whenever you want to find out, for example, you want to find out whether the market is going up or market is going down. So some sort of trend needs to be established. To do that, you can again use machine learning. So Google has a stuff called Zeitgeist. Okay, Zeitgeist. What Zeitgeist does is it will look at queries for example, people. You can do a Zeitgeist on people. So Google publishes this out. You can look it up. It will look at all the people in the world and tell you which particular people searches are most popular last day, last week, last year. And then do a trend analysis. Oh, this guy's search is becoming more popular. This guy's search is becoming less popular. This helps in devising trends. For example, how do we know that Python is getting more popular and Java is dropping in popularity? Because Google search terms for Python is increasing and for Java it is falling. Hence, we can say that trend can be found out. So again, behind the scene in Zeitgeist, what is sitting? Machine learning. Similarly, you can have anomaly. So imagine that, for example, you have a railway, and in railway tracks, in front of the engine, you put a small camera. And this camera looks for railway tracks all the time, in real time. And the moment it notices that one of the rail track is broken or something, then it can, or it is likely to break, it notices an anomaly, then it can flag and tell the next coming train that something like this is broken or something. And maybe somebody can be dispatched to have a look. Okay. The idea is to do anomaly detection. So most of the samples are similar, but one sample is anomalous. One sample is different. So to find that, again, we can use machine learning. Humans get bored. Looking at the same thing over and over and over again, humans get bored, but machine learning does not. Computers can actually find that difference very quickly. Similarly, you can use for visualization, drawing graphs, etc., and also for decision making. So what is machine learning in a nutshell? We can say machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. So if this is AI, which is a big circle, in that completely contained is ML, the second circle, and within that is a third circle, which we sometimes call deep learning. So these are like Russian dolls, one inside the other. So AI is the largest part. Anything to do with intelligence is AI. But when you use algorithms, then you're talking about machine learning. When you're talking about neural network, then you're talking about deep learning. So this is how they are organized. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And here computer algorithms are used to learn from data and information. And machine learning, using machine learning, computers can change and improve their algorithm all by themselves. We have looked at several examples. So there are how many machine learning algorithms? Somebody asked you. You know now there are tens of thousands. And every machine learning algorithm will have three parts: representation, evaluation, and optimization. Okay. So we can go into this one in more detail now, but our session so far has been a sort of overview, right? So if the sea is maybe 100-meter deep, we have covered probably 5-meter only. The moment I start going to next slide, we will probably start hitting 25-meter. Okay. I'm not sure if the audience is right now. So I will start taking questions now, and so let's take it forward from there. Okay. So if you have any questions, guys, you can put up in chat. I'll start answering them now. So we have a question here. If one is just getting started with all this, should he learn deep learning first and then ML? No, you can't do that, Raghav. Whenever you have to do with machine learning, AI and ML, AI is actually a generic term. You don't have to learn AI actually. Anything intelligent is AI. You have to begin with machine learning first. Only after you have become proficient in machine learning, should you even think about deep learning. There is a big jump, okay? Here, if you can learn this in 30 days, machine learning, you will require at least 60 days to learn, okay? At least, maybe more, okay? It takes a lot of time to learn deep learning. There are a lot of concepts involved. Deep learning is not so easy. Okay. Another question is, can we know that model generated at the back end of ML? Okay. Madhumita, this is an interesting perspective. So imagine, for example, I have Flipkart, and Flipkart gives me a coupons for 50%. Okay. So if it gives me a coupon and this coupon looks like A, B, C something, it is a 14-character thing. And I talk to enough people, so I connect a big set of this data. Using this data, can I predict the next coupon? If I can, then I can make money because I will get the goods at 50% from Flipkart and then sell them. But this is not possible because you cannot reverse engineer typically an algorithm just based on data. It's not typically possible. There are some techniques, but they work in very, very specific case. Typically, you can't reverse engineer an algorithm just by data. Nikhil has a question. Please throw some light on big data. So Nikhil, big data comes in because how many websites are there? So imagine you are trying to devise a search engine. So how many websites are there? If you do a simple search, maybe you will run into 1 billion websites. Okay. Now these websites have multiple pages. Maybe total web pages are 30 billion. Okay. Then 30 billion web pages have to be parsed. And then their data has to be extracted. And then you have to find these search terms, etc., sentences or whatever, what makes sense, doesn't make sense. So all this problem is not easy. You're dealing with terabytes of data, and therefore this is big data problem. So this is how big data ties up to machine learning. Okay. The data part in machine learning ties up to big data. How can someone from non-IT background enter into ML? So, Kapil, we have these courses from IIT Kanpur that we typically run regularly. Tapasi ma'am has details. She can share them with you. Okay. We have this website from IIT Kanpur where we run these courses. These are live sessions over Zoom we have regularly. Okay. I'm not sure I'm allowed to advertise too much about it. We don't advertise at all from IIT Kanpur. So, but we have this website called ict.itk, .ac.in. You can search for it. You'll find that. So we begin from beginner only. Okay. So basic difference, but we need Python. You should know one language, which is Python. Okay. If you don't, let us know. We'll give you extra course. Okay. Basic difference between ML and DL. So ML and DL. So DL means neural network. So neural network is a completely different technology. Okay. So deep learning is all about algorithm. Deep learning, on the other hand, is about weights. Okay. Weights. So here the idea is you create an equation. For example, suppose my marks depend on how many hours I have worked, how awake I am, how good my memory is. So, but it is not based on just these three combinations. They play a certain weight. So it may be 30% this, 20% this, 10% this, etc. So these weights, we don't know many times. We know what are the parameters involved, but these weights we don't know. So these weights need to be found out. Roughly, that is how neural network works. I've simplified it too much. So if somebody knows neural network, please excuse me. But this is how neural network works. So the approach is different. Okay. Here we choose an algorithm, and algorithm itself we apply. There we don't have any algorithm. It's a black box. We find the weights and just apply those weights. That is deep learning. So DSA is a prerequisite for ML. No, not at all. So when people want to choose career, they have 2 or 3 choices. One can become a competitive programmer. And for competitive programmer, you need to become good on data science, etc., data structures, etc., and algorithms. That is one world. The different world is ML. And in ML world, you should just know one language, which is Python, basics of it. And then you should know about algorithms. These algorithms are very different from data structure algorithms. Okay, very different. They're not the same. In order to learn ML, just started. So we have to learn probability deeply. So the answer is actually no. You should know probability at a superficial level, but you should know the concepts. Not very deeply. You should know the concepts. You should know what is Bayes' theorem. So the moment you have learned Bayes' theorem, you can stop learning probability. That's enough to get you started on machine learning. Okay. So in case you want to learn more, guys, we have a website called ict.iitk.ac.in. These are courses from IIT Kanpur. Tapasi ma'am has details. She will share them with you. We will give her a coupon also. And using that coupon, you can get a small discount. Okay, we'll do that. Some of the courses I take, some of the courses some professionals take. So it's a mix. So you can reach out to us and we will share with you. I will also share my WhatsApp number maybe. It is 99100-43510. Okay. I'll also put that in the chat. 99100-43510. But please only WhatsApp me, WhatsApp message me. Don't talk, please. It is difficult to step out of meetings and take a message. Please WhatsApp me. I reply to every single message. In case I haven't, then I still am finding in your information. I will definitely get back to you. I reply to every single message. Okay, guys? So best way to reach out to me is message me on WhatsApp. Then what do we have? What is meant by optimization, regularization, and overfitting? So these are specific terms. We are not covering them right now. You know, they are fairly advanced. I think 90% of the audience will get bored if I cover that. So maybe sometimes in future. Skill to learn to work in future in research labs like DeepMind or Google Brain. So yes, it is indeed possible for you to get into research labs like DeepMind or Google Brain. The only thing is that you need to get practice. You need to get good. These are still new fields and a lot of skill is required. A lot of people are required in these areas and there are just not enough people. So if you go to Naukri.com, you will find hundreds of jobs which are open. So become good, practice a lot. When you start becoming good, then you can start applying to these companies like DeepMind and Google Brain. The next question is, what is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? Okay. Yes, there is a big difference. In supervised learning, what we do is we typically have someone train the computer first. And in unsupervised learning, we don't even do that. Ask the computer to find the cluster on its own, groups on its own, and then fill them on its own. So this is the primary difference. Then we have another question which says, I know Python. How should I start learning ML? Which is the best resource for beginners to learn ML? So our experience tells that learning Python is relatively straightforward. Learning machine learning is not. Because typically you will have some gap or the other. I like to think of it as a cheesecake. Some people lack linear algebra, some people lack probability, some people lack Python knowledge, etc. So what we do is we recommend that you do a course from us typically, because we cover these gaps for you. So we have broken down into lectures and those lectures are structured in such a manner that they help you learn. Okay. So that is my recommendation. Otherwise, you can look for, again, go on the same site that I talked about. There is a section called best books type of thing, and there you can find some good books. So I have another question here which says, I replace MATLAB with Python because I'm a mechanical engineer. Indeed, you can. So MATLAB is a competitor to Python in terms of machine learning. Yes, you can use MATLAB to do machine learning also, especially if you are from mechanical. So we have another question. Do we have to learn Python in advance then ML? It is true. You should know Python because otherwise, typically you will slow the whole group down. We assume that you know Python. In case you don't, then we give you some extra course. You should spend a few hours doing that one. And then you can come and do ML. For Python, what should you do? For Python, in order to do Python, you should, you can take Dr. Amay's course. Dr. Amay Karkare is a computer science teacher at IIT Kanpur. I also run regular courses every 10 days. You can join that also. I run them, yeah. So next course, I think, is beginning on 17th. So again, on the same website, you can go and you can start joining there. There is another question on regression and neural network. Again, I will not get there. So not fit for this audience. I haven't learned Python yet. Will you suggest me to go for learning ML directly? Jishu, I would actually suggest that you learn Python first and then go for ML. It is better that way. Okay, that is my recommendation. You can probably get into ML, but you will find that with ML, there are many new things which are coming your way. And then if you have to also figure out Python, then it becomes too much. Some people are able to cope with so much ambiguity, so much information coming to them. Most people find it difficult. So we like to break it into two parts. So we say that, so it is like, saying that if I want to write a novel in German, should I learn German while I am writing that novel? Yeah, could be one approach. But we would suggest you learn German first and then start writing novel in German. Same thing we are doing here. First learn Python, then use Python for machine learning. So another question is data structure required for deep learning? Data structure is not required. Data structure is a completely different branch. That is competitive coding branch. That is to break into companies like Amazon, etc. But for a developer career. Okay. AI has been going in deep using in future generations for implementation. How the AI going in deep using in future generation? Not clear. Ankit, you need to rephrase your question, please. Can you give example of AI and ML in material science? So, Nikhil, for example, in material science, the crystal structures, for example, are very difficult to predict. But if you give them some conditions, for example, there is no law which says what the crystal structure will look like, etc. But machine learning can find these patterns out. So if you have sodium and chloride, then it will form a cube, a perfect cube, etc. If you have carbon, it will form a perfect cube, etc. So those things you can probably predict using AI/ML. It can look for these patterns. It can say if A and B are there, then this happens. A and B in this combination is there, then that happens, etc. Find those patterns and then start. That is where ML can be applied. ML in physics problems. Yeah, so a lot of these problems are actually, so these divisions are artificial in my mind, right? A few years ago, when people like Newton were inventing stuff, they didn't have these boundary lines. You wouldn't say Newton was only a mathematician. He gave laws of physics also, right? Maybe he did work on biology also. So there was, in my mind, when you say solving a physics problem, when the rover has been programmed to go left or right, it is still a physics problem, right? Manufacturing, how ML helps in research area in manufacturing. So in research anyways, you will run into machine learning all the time. All the latest research papers, I would believe, have started to have some element of machine learning, at least a large percentage of them. So even in manufacturing, you will find machine learning will start playing a role. So it is like, a lot of people have started to talk about concept of industry 4.0. So which is the new way of doing things. So if you look at Tesla, for example, how is a Tesla car manufactured? So just look on youtube.com, you will be amazed. They take a single block of aluminium and convert that into a car. And almost everything is done through machines. And again, Tesla is so beautiful to look at, so wonderful, so precise. The doors close perfectly, etc., etc. Just because of the highest level of precision used in creating that car. And therefore, in manufacturing, again, AI/ML will start playing a role more and more and more. So companies like, especially which deal with aircraft equipment, etc. Companies like Bharat Forge, for example, they would start adopting this AI/ML earlier and other companies would follow. So another question is, what is the difference between data analytics fields with respect to machine learning? So I would say that there is a big overlap. There is very, very difficult to say that, this is data analytics and this is machine learning. I would say there is a big overlap. Algorithms are similar, pretty much, Data analytics is ultimately, again, finding patterns. Machine learning to me is again finding patterns. So I would say there's a big overlap. Just that the end result may be slightly different. With machine learning, we put an application into production, which does the prediction. With the data analytics, it may be we produce a dashboard. That's the only difference. Otherwise, pretty much very, very similar. So guys, I'll allow you to unmute yourself now. So if you have any queries, we'll be very happy to take them. Yeah. So you can unmute yourself and speak in case you want to.
If anyone has any question, ask. Unmute yourself and ask.
Sir, Madhumita here. I just asked you a question about like how can we look at the algorithm that has been generated at the back end of the machine learning algorithm. I'm more interested in like if we have cats and dogs and the machine learning algorithm have been writing a set of code at the back end, right? Is there any other possible way we can get to know about what is the exact code that is generated at the back end?
No.
There is no. Okay.
No, Madhumita, actually, when I say no, everything, in computers, what I have learned is, in life in general, no does not exist. It just needs a strong enough person. So, is Mount Everest climbable by average person? Probably no. But then again, there are enough people who do that one on a regular basis,
Okay.
right? It's the same thing here. So there is a class of algorithms called genetic algorithms. Okay, you can look it up on net. Genetic algorithms. Okay. The idea is that if you are given some set of numbers, is it possible to know how those numbers are connected in terms of equation? You see, you're trying to solve the same problem in a way. Okay. You're trying to find the algorithm. Algorithm is nothing but an equation. And that equation, how do we know? So if I give you numbers like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, which is a Fibonacci sequence, is it possible to know that these numbers came from a Fibonacci sequence? How do we do that? Okay, so far that problem has not been solved. There is some research going on in some of those genetic algorithms, and genetic algorithms sort of solve this problem in very special cases. But in most cases, they can't. That is what I was giving you an example of, because this has big implications, okay? For example, if you were able to figure this out, then all the companies' discount code will become invalid because people will be able to generate them on their own.
Okay, sir. Yeah, sir.
See, once you get the algorithm, you can start generating codes on your own, right?
Okay, sir.
So that's the idea.
If no question, then let me proceed for vote of thanks.
Okay.
So on behalf of Synergy Institute of Technology, I like to thank.
Hello.
Anyone has any question?
Yes, ma'am. I had to ask one thing. Hello.
Yes.
This is Krishnan Prakash. Sir, I am primarily from the biology background, but my project that is the thesis work that I am currently pursuing is primarily involving lots of data analysis. And the big data analysis also involves like supervised and unsupervised learning and clustering and all that. So as of now, I have been employing some of the website, some of the tools that are already there available for us, like Metabo Analyst and all that. So, but I was like of an opinion that manually knowing what is being done at the background and then seeing that whether the results that I'm getting are biased or whether they are exactly what I was looking forward to. So for that particular purpose, I started with Python, but I do not really know how to go about further than that. I have learned some of the basic modules as well. And but I really want to know for a basic after Python, after learning some of the modules, how should one go about and reach a level where one can do the data analysis part from there?
Just give me a minute.
Also, the main part is I'm not into coding much, but the thing is for my own project or for any kind of data analysis project, which is biology oriented, but I just want something that the data that I'm giving, whether the results that I'm getting are biased or are really the ones that I should be looking forward to. So how should one go about for such a kind of project.
So I have put up a link in the chat. Okay, please have a look. This is a course from IIT Kanpur. It will cost about 10,000 rupee, but it will give you both Python and AIML. And these will be live classes over Zoom after 6 p.m. Okay, for 1 month. At the end of it, you will get a certificate from IIT Kanpur. So this is my recommended approach. So we run these courses regularly, and my recommended approach will be taking this course because this is something I can control.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. Don't think of this as a promotion, please. I haven't, given you a link until somebody asked. Okay. So I'm not promoting my course or anything. We have enough, this one in any case. So, yeah.
Yes, I get you. No issues. Thank you so much, sir.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
If no question, then let me proceed for vote of thanks. So on behalf of Synergy Institute of Technology, I like to thank Mr. Rahul Garg sir for accepting our invitation and deliver insightful talk on machine learning using Python and its application and along with its future scope. I also like to thank Chairman sir, Mr. Binod Das, Principal Madam Dr. Jogeshwari Raut for their encouragement to arrange such type of event. I also like to thank HOD Vishwaranjan Sadangi and the organizing team for their support for this webinar. Last but not the least, I like one and all who join over this meeting and make it successful. Thank you all.